And the question is, of course, in the Odyssey, who really has the power? Is it Odysseus or is it Penelope? Odysseus is doing all of this to get back to Penelope, which seems to suggest, notice what he said in Odyssey 5. He said to Calypso, I would much rather be with my wife than with a goddess. Who has the power? In the end,
she still pulled him into the cave, so I guess
Calypso has a certain kind of sexual power, and yet it's interesting, Odysseus is ready to renounce that for Penelope. Now, is that a different time? Would you imagine that's a different time now, different view? Or in the end, is it not Penelope that Odysseus wants at all? It's the status of being the king of Ithaca. Penelope is just the way that's shown to be true. She's his queen. She's the mother of his son Telemachus. It ain't got nothing to do with Penelope. Odysseus is not in love with anything other than himself and his power. Penelope's just a kind of a way that happens. And what about Agamemnon? Think about how he resolves conflict. Your ships can't sail unless you sacrifice your daughter. Oh, geez, I don't know about that. That could, be bad. Oh, wait, who comes up with the answer as to how you can do it? Odysseus is the one. The crafty, the cunning, the wily, the deceitful Odysseus is the one who is able to come up with the plan for Agamemnon to jack his own daughter. Whoa. Which will beg a really intriguing questions about fathers and daughters. Of course, we're familiar with this storyline. For those of you that know some of the, some of the stories of the Judeo-Christian Bible, the one that we'll study when we meet the play Hamlet is the famous story of Jephthah, who in the middle of the fight prays to God that if you let me win this war, the first thing I see when I come home, I'll sacrifice. He has a lot of cows. He wins. Word gets home to his beautiful wife and beautiful young daughter that he won. They want to celebrate his victory. His young daughter will come around the bend to greet him. The first thing Jephthah sees is his daughter. I told you should read this book. It's a fascinating story, and it usually isn't one they share with you. The reason is because the way the story ends, Jephthah's made a promise. Yep. But it seems metaphorically to suggest that a man will sacrifice anything to get what he wants, even his own children. Which I had a student once that said, well, it worked in my house. My old man left us to go off to run after another woman. He got what he wanted, and we got to live with the repercussions. And then a number of other students went, oh yeah, that does happen. Seems regularly. Interesting. A man will ruin his entire life to go after something else. Why? And what does the Odyssey seem to suggest about that? Of course, now we can think about the Aeneid, can't we? And the ways in which Aeneas is ready to completely ditch Dido. Dido has given him everything, not just her body, but also her heart and soul. And for that, he will say, see. Ugh. And of course, there's a really intriguing question for poor Dido. Could she have known if she would have been willing to look? And by extension, the question is, can women really trust men in what they say? Or inevitably, they're going to say what they need to say to get what they want, and then they're going to bolt afterwards. Well, come back on Monday, and we'll talk a little bit about Aeneas and his love affair with Dido. Maybe we'll talk guys and girls next week.